Okay, so today I'm gonna just do a simple side view of a car. I'm gonna start off with a standard letter size format. This should give me enough resolution and real estate to do my sketch. Make sure I'm on the black paint. The brush I like to use is one of these random ones, preferably number 23. And I'll come on my brush settings. And the only thing I'll turn on is transfer. You want to make sure this is on pen pressure and the control is on pen pressure. And so I'm going to use the same brush. First I want to save it, and I'm going to use the same brush for my line work and the values. So to do a side view of my sketch, and I'm going to do kind of like a hot or generic side view of a sports car. And the package on this is going to be front engine, rear wheel drive. So typically I want to have 1, 2, 2.5, 3 wheels in the middle of my wheels. And I'm just going to define my wheels just a bit more. I like to do 5 spokes, so do that really quickly. I like to have a nice strong ground plane. Alright, so my engine somewhere over here. My occupant is somewhere over here. And I'm going to kind of start with a blank canvas of a side view. And I want to get my window to wrap around my occupant. Something like that. Maybe add a little front spoiler. And I'm going to lower the opacity on this and kind of trace over the areas that I want to keep. So again, I'm going to kind of go over the wheels. I like to make the rear wheels just slightly bigger. And get my 5 spokes in there. And one other way you can do this is just to do one really nice wheel in the front or the rear and then just copy it over. Alright, and then whenever in doubt, I'll make a new layer. And this time I'm going to go in there and try to catch the body. I'm going to have a nice, almost straight line on the bottom. And this tips up. I'm going to have that airfoil teardrop shape for the center line of the roof. Alright, so when I'm at this stage, sometimes I like to just go in there with a very subtle manual made gradient, which is the same brush that I've been using, but I'll scale it up. And I'll try to do some sort of gradient on the side here. And then I can go in there and, first of all, I think I'm going to get rid of the original package line. Sometimes I'll minimize it so it still kind of looks cool in the background. But at this point, I'm going to go in there and kind of try to sculpt what I'm working with here. And just to kind of clear things up, I'm going to erase out the volume of my car. There we go. And I'm going to cut off the wheels also, because I don't want this thing to look like an SUV. I want it to look like it's planted on the ground. Alright, so I did that. I think another thing I can erase is the lines I have behind these wheels. I can also go in here and erase some of this value. Make the wheels feel a little bit more deep dish. Put a very subtle gradient in there this way. Maybe I can go in here and clean up the line work just a bit. Maybe a little bit off of this wheel. Off this wheel. I'll take my value layer, duplicate it, and at this point I'm going to try to catch the graphics on my car. So maybe if there's like a bottom cutoff or the glass, I think I'll go in here, get the side view glass at least. Let's see if I duplicate that layer, if I duplicate it again, and I merge these three layers, what do I have? Let's go in here and clean it up just a bit more. Another thing I can try to get at this point is maybe an interior indication. So I'll make a new layer, and I'll come in here, and I'll draw the head of a stick figure. His nose, his forehead, or maybe bring his nose up a bit. That'll be his chin. And I'll put in the pillar of the car also. Maybe the top of his hand or the steering wheel, and the pillar on the other side of the car. Once I have that, I'll lower the opacity and erase around the boundary of the glass. Like that. Alright, so the next thing I want to do from here is put a little bit of sculpture on the side of this car. So I'm going to just use a random word to get some inspiration. And maybe this time I will do inspiration. Inspiration. And the first word that pops up, oh no, inspiration. Alright, so I don't have internet. So I'm going to just do some wheel flats and maybe like some sort of like typical sports car thick and thin graphic for this side body. Alright, one of the first things I want to do is make the rear fenders seem like they're popping out. So I'll go in here with a white brush and check out what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a big fuzzy brush around that wheel, bring that to the top layer. So it's kind of gradating into the body. And then I'm going to come over here, lasso tool, make a circle around my wheel, and erase. Select, deselect. Now sometimes that comes out just too crisp and clean, so be careful about that. Come in here, erase the end so it looks like it's blending into the body smoothly. And I'll just copy that. And it looks like I merged it accidentally with my interior, but that's okay. I'll put it in the front, and I'll erase that stuff there. Erase a little bit more of this. Alright, so one of the final things I'm going to do is add maybe, let's see, maybe I'll take this line here. This line here, and I'll reverse it on the bottom. So maybe it shoots up like that. If I use the warp tool, no, I don't think I want to use that one. Or You know what? That just might work. If I extend this to the rear, I think that just might work. So if I bring this up, yeah, you know what? We are going to make this guy work. So a few things I'm working around is I want this line to kind of match up the ground, match with the ground line, and also maybe the top of the fender line. And also I'm using this to cut off the rear, establishing where the bumper is, but at the same time, this is kind of cutting right through the whole car, kind of extending the whole car. All right, so with that line there, I'm going to go in there and let's see, if I use the warp tool, if I can straighten out the bottom just a bit more, I think that might be fine. And I can grab the graphic of what I had before. And this time, I'm just going to erase the boundary around that line. So it's almost like a black trim on the bottom of this car. I'll lower the opacity so I can see a little bit better. I'm just slicing all that off. And what this is doing is graphically, it's breaking up my vehicle to make it seem like it's even sleeker than it really is. And I'm also going to get rid of the wheels, the value on the wheels. And I'm going to come in here with just a touch of sculpture in the side body over here. And for my own sake, first I'm going to design it, what I want it to look like. By the way, I'm going to bring this to the top. No, that doesn't look that great. First, I'm going to design the sculpture. So I'm thinking it's kind of like this chamfer. And maybe it's thicker here and it fades out. So I'll lower the opacity on that design line. I'll make a new layer. I'm going to come in here and do my gradient thing again with a big fat brush. So I want it to gradient upwards towards the center of the body. And I'll lower the opacity on that just a bit. I'm going to come in here and erase away an offset of that line that I have. And I'm just going to kill it before it hits the front fender. So again, I'm using the same brush for my eraser as I was using for my paintbrush. If I bring that. Yeah, I think that's good. So one of the last things I like to do is some finishing touches. And I think some finishing touches on this guy is maybe with a white brush. I like to go over the whole thing and just clean up some areas. Maybe lower the peak of this fender even more. And cut off the end. And I am almost finished with this guy. Almost finished. And maybe I'll put my signature in there. Oh yeah, one other thing, I gotta go back in there. Maybe get rid of the extra stuff on that line. And my signature could be a little bit higher res, but I'm just going to let it go. And thank you guys for watching.